horizontal rows of 6 stars, top and bottom. Alternating with these rows of 5 stars, the 50 stars on the flag represent the 50 states, and the 13 stripes represent the original 13 colonies. Colonies that rebelled against the British Crown became the first states in the Union. Nickname for the flag include the Stars and Stripes, Old Glory, and the Star Spangled Banner. Because of its symbolism, the starred blue canton is called the Union. This part of the national flag can stand alone as a maritime flag called the Union Jack, which served as the United States Jack on warships from 1777 until 2002. The United States warships now display as a Jack the Culpeper ensign. The blue cannon continues to be used as a Jack, however, by various federally owned vessels, including those of the Coast Guard, military, Sea Lift Command, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
You may be seated.
The flag of Colorado does not necessarily fall into the orders of the seniority, but certainly is important to us who live in Colorado. The flag of Colorado was officially adopted to represent the U.S. state of Colorado on the June the 5th of 1911. The flag was designed by Andrew Carlisle Carson. It consists of a fast design of 3 horizontal stripes of equal width, with the top and bottom stripes colored blue, and the middle stripe colored white. A circular red C filled with gold and contained discs sits atop the stripes. All aspects of the flag contain symbolism related to the state, as the blue is meant to represent the sky, the gold the abundant sunshine, and the state the state receives, the white the snow-capped Rocky Mountains, and the red the ruddy earth. The gold and white portions of the flag also represent the state's gold and silver mining industries, respectively. POWMIA flag, in my mind, is probably the most important one we have. Don't forget the ones who are missing or killed in action. In 1971, Mrs. Michael Hoff, a missing in action wife and a member of the National League of Families, recognized him for a symbol of our prisoners of war missing in action, POWMIAs. Brought by an article in the Texas Florida Times, Mrs. Hoff contacted Norma Rick Bees, Vice President of Annan and Company, which had made a banner for the newest members of the United Nations People's Republic of China as part of their policy to provide flags to all UN member nations. Mrs. Hoff found Mr. Ricketts very sympathetic to the POWMI issue, and he, along with the Annan's advertising agency, designed a flag to represent our missing men and women. Following legal approval, the flag was manufactured and distributed. Concerned groups and individuals have altered the original POW flag many times. The colors have been switched from black to white to red, white to blue, white to black. The name POWMIA also has been changed and revised at times to MIA-POW. Such changes, however, are insignificant. The importance lies in the continued visibility of this symbol that is a constant reminder of the plight of American POWs. Nothing tops the American flag, literally. If you're flying multiple United States flags, the country's official flag should always sit atop your flag. Closely underneath there, though, are the proud, striking, and patriotic military flags that honor the men and women who have fought bravely for the United States for hundreds of years. The military flag reflects their dedication, their passion, and their sacrifice. Military flags in various forms date all the way back to the Bronze Age, when flags were used as field signs during battle. They quickly emerged throughout the world, including Asia and Europe. Sometimes they replaced a city or a country's coat of arms as its defining symbol. Surprisingly, the Army didn't have a representing flag until the 1950s. The modern flag supports a seal dated in the American Revolution with a rattlesnake atop and some interesting features including a musket, snare drum, and bomb shells. The flag was officially adopted in 1956. Early naval boats flew the early forms of the Stars and Stripes proudly, while others sported such emblems as a rattlesnake and a pine tree. For 60 years, the Navy used an infantry battalion flag that was blue with a large anchor set in a white diamond. The official naval seal was designed in 1957 and incorporated into the official flag in 1959. It's a dark blue background with a yellow banner under a seal depicting an eagle protecting the ship on calm waters. Marines have an interesting history with their flag. Early incarnations include images of an anchor and an eagle with time-specific mottos such as "To the shores of Tripoli" in their first half flag in the 1800s. One post-Civil War flag also included an eagle, 29 stars, and U.S. Marine Corps striped on a red stripe, stitched on a red stripe. The official emblem of the Marines was adopted in 1868. Reflect his service on sea and land, with an eagle and a globe and the motto "Semper Fidelis," which means always faithful. Different regiments had their own flags, such as the U.S. MC Old Blue, Gold, and Scarlet were chosen for the official Marine Corps colors in 1925 and incorporated into the branch's current flag, designed in 1939. The Air Force's official flag, approved in 1951, closely reflects the Department's official seal. Set on an ultramarine blue, the flag includes the Air Force coat of arms and shield surrounded by 13 stars representing the original colonies. Above the shield is an eagle, with the arms outstretched to the highest 3 stars. Army, those stars represent Army, Navy, and Air Force. The only branch with two official flags. The Coast Guard first carried a flag in the late 18th century that identified those members as law enforcement officers who enforced trade law, sporting red and white stripes and an eagle. Small alterations were made through the 20th century until the present version of the INS approved in 1966. The stripes are gone in favor of a striking white background with a blue great seal of the U.S. and the words Semper Paratus in 1790. We're going to hang on a minute. Where's our space flag? We don't want to forget our newest department of the military, Department of Defense. Who is the newest member of the Department of Defense? The Airspace. This is the new airspace flag of our department. The flag design, which was made by an artist within the Defense Logistics Agency, that makes all of the President's personal flags feature the official Space Force seal, centered on a black background. The words United States Space Force and the Roman numeral equivalent to the year 2019 appear in a white letter beneath the seal. Dark blue and white are used to represent the vast recesses of outer space. Each element of the design has meaning, starting with the central Delta wing symbol. Although it reminds many Star Trek fans of the Starfleet Command logo, the Delta wing has military history dating back to the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1942. It's said to symbolize change and innovation. The combination of dark and light shades of gray within the Delta represent the 24/7 operations of the Space Force, while its upwards orientation speaks to the branch's central role in fitting the space domain. The dark blue globe, which is positioned behind the Delta, represents the earthly home of the Space Force military branch and its support in the joint warfare warfighters. In support to the joint warfighters. The elliptical orbit around the globe symbolizes defense and protection from potential threats and adversaries in the space domain, as well as ongoing interagency operations and allied partnerships. According to a fact sheet on the Space Forces website. The white star located at the top left of the Delta's apex signifies the Space Force's branch core values. It is a guiding light of security that alludes to a constant presence in space, both now and in the future. The two clusters of small stars on either side of the Delta are said to represent the existing assets developed, maintained, and operated by the U.S. Space Force. While the three more prominent stars are represented in the branch's three main functions to organize, train, and equip. I gave this one a little more time because I'm familiar to so many people as to why it came and what its mission is. Its mission is to keep an eye on things for us, so we know what's coming. If we don't, maybe we can't stop it, but at least we know what's coming. That's my opinion. The VFW seal, the insignia of our organization, is 1,000 years old. The Veterans of War Memorial of the United States was founded in 1899, but the Cross of Malta was created hundreds of years ago by a group of men known as the Crusaders. Those men were warriors who campaigned, fought in the military, sacrificed their lives in defense of human liberties. Those early warriors served mankind in other ways, always under the sign of the Maltese cross. It's a symbolic banner of their choice, of their own choice. Why did the Veterans of War Memorial select the cross as Malta as the emblem? What has been added to make VFW that we know today? Let's look closely at our emblem for a few hours. Let's understand its history and its present significance. that the VFW insignia is 8-pointed Maltese cross on a radiated solar arrays. One cross is superimposed the greatest city in the United States, shortened by the name of our organization. What does that entire design mean? Every detail in the VFW insignia has some definite meaning. The cross, the rays, the seal together symbolize the character, vows, and purposes of each. The VFW of Fort Worth is a rigorous order of men who have traveled far from home to fight for the freedoms of their village. To understand fully the meaning of the cross of Malta, we must look back at 1,000 years of the saints' ways of the days. They ever see the Maltese cross as a unique secret for Knights of St. John, the world's first great brotherhood of men that is chivalry. And through the rest of history, the Maltese cross and the American VFW flag have symbolized those things. And they mean the same thing to us today. There's about a 30-minute dissertation on the VFW flag. What does the American Legion emblem mean? The larger of the two outer rings stands for the rehabilitation of our sick and our disabled comrades. The smaller inside ring denotes the welfare of American children. The smaller of the two inner rings set upon the stars represent service to our communities, the states, and the nation. We have to get them together back. The flag as a flag, as a banner, are one of the most important things in our military bag of tricks. Flag is necessary, and a flag that the people who are working under that flag will honor. Because when it comes time to take a hill, you can't see the people, but you can see that flag. So that's why the American flag will end up on the top of the hill most of the time. And that's what it does. It leads men to do what they would hesitate to do if they didn't have that flag. And that's why flags have been important through all time. Back over to Stephen, and then go from there. I still let show for a while.
Now we're going to have the national anthem. Sound check by Director Marshall Dogan. Please rise.
Speak up.
You gotta speak closer to the microphone.
Now can you hear me? Now? Okay. I want to thank Seaboard for donating the bacon for breakfast, and Village Inn donating the batter for the pancakes. And I want to thank all the students for helping out and making us feel special when we walked in the door. Now we're going to have Holyoke Senior High, Senior High. High school band presents Heroes and Glory. All right, we're going to have our Patriots pin contestant winners. Patriots pin 7th and 8th graders, and this year all the top 3 were 7th graders. These 3 students their essays will go on to district, and then the winners are judged in district. The top winners in district get to go to state. The 3rd place essay was written by 7th grader Kyle Goldenstein. Kyle, can you stand up? Now, a 2nd place essay was written by 7th grader Lillian Vasquez. Finally, this year's 1st place essay was written by 7th grader Victor Bay. Thank you to each student who submitted an entry, and good luck in district competition. As part of our program today, we have the opportunity to listen to two young people present their voice of democracy competition speeches on the topic, what are the attributes of our democracy? Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Ms. Leah Struckmeyer, at the stage.
Just gotta mute the microphone.
The greatest attributes of American democracy. In 1776, the United States of America separated from Great Britain with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Since that point in time, our country has been governed by a democracy. This type of government is not perfect. However, it does provide several benefits to our everyday lives that simply cannot be found in other countries. These incredible attributes include the ability to vote, malleable laws, and the freedom to express our views, among several others. At the age of 18, every legal U.S. citizen is eligible to vote if they choose. It is not limited by an individual's gender, race, religion, occupation, or anything else concerning the person as an individual. Furthermore, this privilege is not limited by one's age. As soon as a citizen reaches adulthood, they are entitled and encouraged to vote for their town or city, country, state, and even national governments. Anytime an election is held, these individuals have the ability to express their beliefs and help to mold the government into a shape they believe will best suit the country as a whole. This makes the ability to vote one of the best attributes of the American democracy. Another great privilege is the ability to add, change, and even remove laws from our legislation. Our Constitution started with 7 articles. Then came the Bill of Rights, which added 2 new amendments to the existing laws. Since then, there have been 17 additional amendments made to our Constitution for a total of 27. There have also been laws in our government which have been added, removed, or changed based on the current needs of our country. Since our laws are malleable and determined by the people of the United States, it allows our country to grow and changes the needs of our people, adapt to the present way of life. Some of the amendments made include outlawing slavery, allowing everyone the right to a fair trial, and giving everyone the right to vote regardless of race, gender, or religion. Furthermore, if a law is passed with which the citizens do not agree with, they are able to remove that particular law through the use of petitions. If a petition receives enough signatures, that particular law can be removed from legislation. Finally, a third great example of the amazing attributes set in place by the American democracy is the First Amendment to our Constitution, the amendment which grants United States citizens the freedom of speech, religion, and press. In many countries around the world, such freedoms are not guaranteed, and individuals can be severely punished for speaking out against the government, following a different religion, or writing something which does not agree with the country's ideals. In America, these freedoms are sometimes taken for granted, but would be severely missed if they were to ever disappear. Most people do not question their ability to vocalize their opinions, worship their own entities, or write what they feel because it is simply a common part of life which one rarely takes the time to think about or question. There are freedoms which make America a great country to live in. In conclusion, some of the greatest attributes of the American democracy include the right to vote, the ability to change laws, and the freedom of speech, religion, and press. These privileges, among others, are things which make America a better place to live and a stronger country as a whole. Without these rights, our freedoms would be much more restricted, our government would benefit fewer people, and the laws which rule our lives would not have the ability to adapt to what our country needs as society changes. Thank you.
This time, I'd like you to help me welcome Mr. Ben Cleve to the stage. Ben is this year's VFW Xyla Romans Lindsay Post 6482 Voice of Democracy speech winner. Congratulations, Ben.
Every year, thousands of people immigrate to the United States. Why? The United States of America is the oldest representative democracy in the world. Even through the test of time, this democracy has stood strong and is a beacon of hope. The best attributes of American democracy are the protection of fundamental rights and liberties, the systems of checks and balances, and a commitment to political pluralism. American democracy's commitment to protecting fundamental rights and liberties is deeply ingrained in the nation's history and legal framework. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution enshrines some of the most cherished rights: freedom of speech, religion, and the press. These rights are not mere words on paper, for they are the cornerstones of an open and vibrant society. Freedom of speech is a bedrock principle that empowers individuals to express themselves, voice their opinions, and engage in a dialogue without fear of retribution. It is the lifeblood of a democratic society, fostering a marketplace of ideas where diverse perspectives can be heard. It is the idea that even the most controversial and dissenting voices are protected is a testament to the strength of American democracy. Throughout history, this protection has been the driving force behind social change, allowing activists, advocates, and ordinary citizens to challenge the status quo and push for a more just and equitable society. This protection of fundamental rights and liberties in American democracy is a beacon of hope for those seeking a society where individual freedoms are respected and cherished. It sets a high standard for the rest of the world to emulate, demonstrating that democracy is not merely a political system, but a way of life that respects the rights and dignities of all of its citizens. Secondly, the system of checks and balances. This intricate web of constitutional arrangements ensures that the power is not concentrated in any one branch of government. It is a safeguard against tyranny and abuse of power, a concept deeply rooted in the American psyche. The executive, legal, and judicial branches of government all play specific and distinct roles. The executive branch, headed by the president, is responsible for enforcing the laws. The legislative branch, consisting of the Senate and House of Representatives, creates those laws. The judicial branch, led by the Supreme Court, interprets those laws. This separation of powers is crucial, as it prevents one branch from becoming too powerful or dominating the other. The checks and balances system includes intricate mechanisms for the oversight and accountability. For example, Congress can override a presidential veto with a 2/3 vote, providing a check on executive power. The judiciary can review and declare laws or executive actions unconstitutional, ensuring that governmental actions are in compliance with the Constitution. This system not only fosters accountability, but encourages compromise and negotiation. In a system where no single branch or party holds absolute power, cooperation is essential for governance. This give and take of the democratic process helps ensure that policies are more reflective of a broad range of perspectives. Third, the commitment to political pluralism and inclusivity. American democracy's commitment to political pluralism is a vital attribute that fosters a diverse and representative society. The United States is a nation characterized by its diversity, both in terms of demographics and political ideologies. This diversity is not only celebrated, but actively encouraged in the democratic process. American democracy accommodates a multiplicity of political parties, movements, and ideologies. This openness allows for the robust exchange of ideas and gives voices about various interests and perspectives. Whether one identifies as a conservative, a liberal, libertarian, Democrat, or Republican, or any other political affiliation, there is room for participation in the political discourse. This richness of perspectives is a driving force behind the innovation and continual evolution of these policies. Inclusivity is not only about legal protections, but about the ethos of American democracy. It encourages citizens to engage in civic life and advocate for social change. This engagement takes the form of grassroots movements, community organizations, and political activism. It is the embodiment of democracy in action as people come together to shape the direction of their nation. In conclusion, the American democracy stands as a model for democracies worldwide due to these three fundamental attributes: the protection of fundamental rights and liberties, the system of checks and balances, and a commitment to political pluralism. It reflects a system that values individual freedoms, promotes accountability and compromise, and celebrates diversity and inclusivity. It serves as an enduring inspiration for those who aspire to live in societies that respect the rights and dignity of all of their citizens. American democracy is not without its challenges, but is a testament to the strength and adaptability of a system built on principles that empower individuals and promote the common good. Thank you.
Now we're going to have the high school, junior high school choir presents Mr. White. speaker is Charlie Cleve, a local teacher. I've been open for questions when her speech is done.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I love this day. It's always amazing to see you guys come out and support all of the veterans that are out here. But I want to ask you a question to start with. How high do you think that ceiling is? 30 feet maybe?
40.
40? Well, the rope that I had to climb was about 30 feet up. And I climbed it, and I got to the top, and I'm congratulating myself. I did it. I made it to the top. This is amazing. Until I wasn't. Next thing I know, I was laid out flat on the ground in the worst pain I had ever been in, wondering how in the heck I had gotten there. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Miss Cleve. I teach here at the junior senior high school, and I am honored to be here today to tell you about my service. I've been here at the high school for almost 6 years, which is about how long I was actually in the military. So I don't know how many of you know, but I went to one of the very first alternative schools that there was in the country. I graduated 6 months early at the age of 17, and I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. Those of you that are coming up to the junior and senior high school, be excited because this school is amazing, and the time that they spend preparing students to be prepared to be out of school, because I didn't have that. So for 2 years, I wandered through life having not a clue what I was going to do. I went from job to job, getting minimum wage, still living at mom and dad's house, not sure what was going to happen. One day my dad said, "Charlie, it's time to go. You need to join the military." I was like, "Are you serious? The military, me?" So I thought about it that night, and I realized that my family has served since the United States was the United States. I can trace my heritage all the way back to the Revolutionary War. I have a relative that served in the Civil War, that was a flag carrier, have a star that was shot out of a flag. The soldier took it back, had a teacher put it on a piece of parchment, and listed on that parchment are all the battles that flag was carried in. That flag is at the Smithsonian Institute now. My great-grandmother was one of the first nurses that went overseas during World War I to help out. My grandfather was at Iwo Jima when the flag was raised. My dad served for 23 years in the military. He went to Vietnam 3 times as a door gunner. His life expectancy was 23 minutes in that position. Instead of 23 minutes for that one time, he ended up serving 23 years. So to say that service in my family is an honor is definitely there. And I figured, if they could do it, why couldn't I, right? That why not moment led me to join in the military. So I went down to the recruiter, and many of you over here have already seen the recruiters. They come and talk to you, and sometimes they get annoying, but trust me, sometimes they have really good things for you. My recruiter sent me up to take the ASVAB test, which is the aptitude test, to say what kind of job I would be good for. And 3 weeks later, he was on the phone. "I need you to come down right now." Oh boy. So I go down to the recruiter's office, and he's like, "You can pick just about any job you want. Let's go." And I was like, "All right, I can do this." Signed all my paperwork, picked a job that put me repairing medical equipment at a hospital, or at a cache, or a combat support hospital. And I was excited. I'm like, "Let's go, I got this, I can do this." And then I learned life lesson number 1 from the Army: patience. I wanted to leave the next week. I was ready. I was psyched up, ready to go, and they were like, "Sorry, you have to wait 8 months because there's not a slot in the school that you want to go to." So that was life lesson number 1. In the meantime, I'm at home, my brother's in high school, and he's a cheerleader, and I'm joining the Army, and my mom's wondering if she did something wrong. Right? So I finally get to go to basic training. January 3rd, 1995, I took a bus to Fort Leonard Wood, and I was about to experience 8 weeks of people telling me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But I want to go back just a little to day 1. Day 1, I went and I stood in a line. I stood in the line for paperwork. I stood in the line to get my equipment. I stood in the line to get shots that were not very great. They kind of hurt when they stuck those in. And I went back to lesson number 1, patience. Kept going back to lessons. So I finally have all my stuff. I've got my equipment. I've got my uniform on, which is kind of itchy and scratchy because it's brand new. And I've got boots on that I can barely walk in because I've never walked in boots before, and they're laced up as tight as they can and not broken in. And I'm carrying everything that I own. I have a bag on the back and holding my personal bag in the front, and they put us into a cattle truck. I'm not kidding, just what you're thinking, a cattle truck. Didn't have 2 stories, just 1. But they pack us in there like sardines, right? We're nice to cattle. We give them some room to move, and not us, standing there holding everything I own, and the truck starts moving, and I didn't move. I'm looking around, wondering, what the heck have I gotten myself into? Next thing I know, it stops. And all of a sudden, there's these guys and girls with hats on that look like state troopers screaming at me, "Get out of the truck, let's go, do it now, don't think, you gotta move, gotta go. Carrying everything I own, waddled over and got into what I thought was formation. No idea what that word even meant at the moment. And I'm standing there being as still as I possibly can, trying not to get any attention to me. Look at me, don't think, okay, don't make eye contact, I can do this. All of a sudden, there was someone in my face. "Gundrum, what are you doing here?" Gundrum was my maiden name before I was Miss Cleve. "I joined the army, sir." Terrified. He looks at me, he's like, "Don't you ever call me sir, I work for a living." Not in my head, that was still the wrong answer. "When you address me as yes, Drill Sergeant." "Yes, Drill Sergeant." Terrified, shaking in my new boots. And then he gets really close, and that state trooper hat is hitting me in the forehead, and he's like, "Gundrum, I am so glad that you were in my platoon. Your dad was my drill sergeant, and I'm about to return the favor." Life lesson number 2. The world is a much smaller place than you actually think it is. All right, so the next several weeks, I got to experience things that I had never done before. I told you I was 110 pounds when I joined. Turns out that wasn't enough for the military. I was actually underweight. So I got to be the first person in the chow line and the last person in the chow line. So I'm eating double rations, which is great, and a ton of calories, but try explaining that to the guys that only got to eat half calories because they were overweight. Well, I'm glad I had all those calories because then it was time for me to do the fitness test. I was not an athlete in high school. I did cheer team for a while, but that wasn't my thing either. And I had just spent 2 years wandering around with no aim in life as a teenager, eating all the junk food that I could. But I still couldn't gain weight. So after being the first one and the last one, I got to eat a lot. So then I go to the PT. I was supposed to run 2 miles in 18 minutes and 6 seconds. I was supposed to do, and I want to make sure I get this absolutely right as I tell you guys. I needed to do 44 push-ups, nope, rewind, 25 push-ups in 2 minutes, and 59 sit-ups in 2 minutes. Now I'm going to tell you, the first time I got out there, I ran, and then I walked, and then I ran a little bit more, and it took me 25 minutes to finish that first 2 miles. So I got put in with the crew that had to do workouts all the time. So I'm glad I had the calories because I was doing extra workouts at that point. But as I finished basic training, I actually ended up running the 2 mile in 16 minutes flat, doing 44 push-ups and 79 sit-ups in 2 minutes. So with that, that brings me to the second thing that I did that was absolutely out of my wheelhouse. I joined the Army having never touched a gun or a weapon or a rifle in my entire life. Who does that? Like, that's their main job, right? No clue. I was absolutely clueless. Almost as good as the guy that I knew who joined the Navy who couldn't swim. Happens. But I paid attention there, and I was super focused. I wanted to know everything I could because I was terrified. I never held a weapon. I knew what they were capable of doing, but I didn't know anything about it. By the time we were done with the classroom training, I could take my weapon apart and put it back together in a minute and a half. And I had had all the training that I was going to get. The first day I got to fire my weapon, it was 25 degrees outside. Freezing, right? Below freezing. Everybody knows how that feels, definitely here in Colorado. I get out there, got my weapon, thinking about my training, put my nose on the charging handle, aim, breathe in, breathe out, squeeze. Bam! Next thing I know, I have blood dripping out of my nose, and it is so cold that it's freezing before it even touches the ground. Nobody told me about the recoil. I'd never actually seen a gun get fired, so I didn't know it kicked back. So I'm laying there, tears coming to my eyes, and I open my eyes and I look down range, and I was like, holy crap, I actually hit the target. That was the moment of self-realization that if I put in the work and I had self-determination, grit, and perseverance, I could accomplish just about anything. But now I'll tell you a little bit about the people that I went to basic training with. We had some of those from the South that were like, hey y'all, how you doing? And we had the guy from California who was a total surfer dude. Then we had some people from the Northeast who have the accent where they don't pronounce the R's. I'm not even gonna try it because I can't. And my battle buddy was one of them, Kathleen Iliff. Battle buddy, new idea to you guys, kind of like a best friend at basic training. We slept in the same set of bunks. We went to chow at the same time. We stood in formation next to each other. When she got in trouble that first week, I got in trouble that first week. Unfortunately, the second week, Iliff was marching, and I don't know how she did it, but she managed to sprain her ankle. Ends up on crutches. So being the good battle buddy that I am, I get to carry her ruck with me everywhere I go. So now I'm carrying her stuff and my stuff. At the beginning, super easy. I had a water bottle. I had my battle Bible, which was like my book that taught me everything I needed to know as a private in the Army. An extra pair of socks. An extra pair of socks, I still tell everybody you should always have an extra pair of socks. Wet feet are miserable. So that was great until we got to week 8. And it was our final 10-mile ruck march back to base camp. This time they said you have to put everything you own in that ruck, every piece of equipment. Well, every piece of equipment felt like 100 pounds. So I get my rucksack on, all hooked up. Drill sergeant comes over and then puts Iliff's rucksack on top of me. Gets me all hooked up, and I got 3 steps before I was flat on my back, flailing like a turtle, not being able to move because I couldn't lift that much weight. Drill Sergeant Frigid came over, sat me up, and I'm sitting there thinking, how in the heck am I going to get this? I can't even walk 3 miles or 3 steps. How am I going to walk 10 miles? Next thing I know, every single person from my platoon came and took one thing out of Iliff's rucksack. By taking one thing out of that rucksack, it made it light enough that I could carry mine and hers. Which brings me to lesson number 3, teamwork. If you are working together with a group of people towards the same goal, collectively, you can accomplish that goal much easier. Okay? So I graduated from basic training, and I went to Denver. It's Army Medical Center, which is now the University Hospital and Children's Hospital up in Denver. And I was there for 9 months, and I got my certificate as a biomedical equipment repair specialist. I went on to my first duty station in Hawaii. Dude, how awesome was that? I got to get paid to live in Hawaii, which was fantastic. But I was also barely an E3, private first class, and at this hospital, that was the first time in almost 10 years that somebody with that rank had been assigned there. Everybody else was senior staff. I was the lowest ranking person in the entire unit. I also, in my department, was the only girl, which was terrifying. Lucky for me, I had a sergeant who took care of me. And in getting there, I said, I don't want to be the lowest ranked anymore. How am I going to do this? Help me, how am I going to get this done? And so he gave me the steps that I needed to promotion, and within 9 months, I had become an E4. And from that moment on, I knew that I needed to get better. But I was enjoying Hawaii. Y'all, it was amazing. I got to kayak up the river to a waterfall in Maui. I climbed the dormant volcano of Diamond Head. I was able to go scuba diving and saw sharks. Kind of terrifying, almost as terrifying as joining the Army, but not quite. But I get to do all these things, and now I'm there, but I'm still one of the lowest ranked people in the unit, and I don't like that. I'm not a good follower. I know that's what the Army's about, but I want to be a leader, so talked to my sergeant and I said, Sergeant Brown, how do I get promoted? I want to be E5, I want to be a sergeant, I want this responsibility. Oh, wait, y'all, I forgot. Completely forgot lesson number 4. I'm sorry, let's go back. I got promoted to as an E4, I had a new responsibility. That responsibility was an on-call duty. So I got called on call to go back to the hospital if something was broken. First time I got called, it was because the floor was flooding in the unit where they sterilized all of the medical equipment. And there's all these people running around there, not knowing what to do. There's water all over the floor. They can't find the leak. I walk in, knock over the wall, turned off the faucet that was letting the water come in. That was easy. One night I got called by the charge nurse because she couldn't find her keys to get into the medicine cabinet. Walked in, drilled out the lock. That was easy. So by now I've learned lesson number 4. No, 3. No, 4. Sorry, y'all. Learned lesson number 4. Sometimes the easiest answer is the right answer. So one evening I get a phone call. Specialist, you need to come in right now because there's a wound evacuation system that's not working. Wound evacuation system is just what it sounds like. It is a life or death piece of equipment that evacuates all the ick. So you have a wound that can't be healed up yet. So I said, sir, did you turn the piece of equipment on? Of course, specialist, it's turned on. There's no lights coming on. Nothing is working. The motor's not running. You have to get in here right away and fix this. Sir, is it plugged in? Okay. Oh, yeah, thanks. So again, sometimes the easiest answer is the correct answer. Okay, so we've gone back. Now I've done all these amazing things in Hawaii. I'm trying to get promoted. Sergeant Brown says, well, you have to learn all of these things. And he gave me this huge stack of Army regulations. Here's this pile of information. You need to memorize all of it. So I went back to lesson number 4. Sometimes the easiest answer is the right one. And I decided, instead of memorizing all of this information, I was going to memorize where to find the information. So when I went to the board and they said, Specialist, how far over does the rack of medals need to be from the collar of your Class A uniform? I was able to say, well, I don't know that exact answer. I do know that I can go to DA pamphlet 670-1 and find it for you. I managed to get all of the points on that promotion board except one. I was in my dress Class A uniform, which was a skirt and heels for women at the time. Tried to do an about face, and my heel caught on the carpet. I was docked 1 point for that. And now, because I'd already done all of this education, I had all the education points that I could get, and I had already gone to the board, but I still didn't have enough points, and my career had not been stellar enough to get promoted. So Sergeant Brown, what do I do? I need to get promoted. So he gave me some options, and I decided that I was going to go to air assault school. That's where you rappel out of a helicopter down. And he said, all right, you can go to air assault school, but you have to do something first. And that's when I was introduced to the rope. 30 feet. He took me outside and he said, Specialist Benjamin, if you can climb to the top of that rope, I will put in your paperwork so you can go to air assault school. And I was like, I can do this. I was in the best shape of my life. I was running my 2 miles in just over 14 minutes. I could do 102 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and I could do 63 push-ups. I got this. Go over the rope. He tied 3 knots in it, only about up to this part. All right, got my feet on, I'm holding on. Climb up, go to the next knot, put my feet on it, push myself up, come up, and I get to the 3rd knot. Just not strong enough. I can't get any further up. Those 3 knots had helped me get to here, but I wasn't getting any further. So I got down from the rope and I asked, Sergeant, how did you do this? He was like, it's easy, watch. He goes and he's like, all the way to the top. And I was like, okay, show me again. So he goes up and he does this really cool thing with his foot and the rope and stands on it, and then he uses his whole body to move himself up, not just his arms. So that rope hung there for 12 months while I was trying to figure out how to get to the top. And there were weeks that I did not even look at the rope because I was disgusted and I knew that I couldn't do it. It just wasn't going to happen. But that brings me back to lesson number 3. With perseverance, determination, and grit, you can do anything. In those 12 months, I did every exercise that I could. I climbed that rope probably 189 times till I get to the top. And on May 13th, 1998, I made it to the top of that rope, which takes us back to where we started, laying on the ground, wondering how I got here. It felt like forever, but it wasn't. Luckily, my sergeant's window was watching that rope, and he saw me fall. It came out, turns out I had dislocated my right hip and separated my SI joint. This is one right here. I spent a week and a half in the hospital, and I spent many, many, many months in physical therapy trying to get back to where I was. Remember how I didn't like running when I started? Running by this time was my stress relief, and I was never able to do it again, which makes me excited to watch my boys run. Those of you know that that's really important to me. So I spent the next 2.5 years trying to get back to where I was before that accident. And I just could not get there. And one day, my sergeant came to me and said, "I am sorry, Specialist Gunjum, we are going to have to medically discharge you from the military." Those are probably the hardest words I've ever heard. I was so sad because this was my life plan. This is where I was going. This is what I was doing, right? Remember I started without one? Then I had one. I knew what I wanted to do. And it was torn away. Life lesson number 5. In hardship, there's generally opportunity. When you get medically discharged from the military, they allow you to train in any field that you want so that you can still be a productive member of society. That allowed me to become a teacher and continue my active service that I do today. But that was lesson 6. Okay, so that accident allowed me to follow my passions, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have time today to tell you about going to the gas chamber or my time in Korea and standing on the DMZ. I don't have time to tell you about blowing up an M1 Abrams tank. I don't have time to tell you about almost being blown up by a hand grenade at training or 100 other things. And I'm honored to talk to you guys today because I want you to see a different face of the military. Most times when we think of veterans, we think of dads and grandpas. There's women out there that have served just as much, so I want you to see that. Women serve just as much as our men do, especially these days. There's nothing stopping you from being someone who can serve in our military. And being a teacher, I want to leave you with one final lesson. You get a bonus today. And this one's going to be hard for me, y'all. I was discharged from the military on August 11th, 2001. Exactly a month before the 9/11 attacks. I felt at that moment like I had let down my country. I had let down my unit, which was one of the very first to deploy to the Middle East after that. It was a really rough time for me. Which brings me to my lesson for you guys as civilians. Well, every veteran here, and I appreciate you thanking us for our service, there are times when it's hard. It's not always easy for me to hear, "Thank you for your service," when I wonder, what have I done? My friends didn't come back. The people I know never actually came back. They're not here to get that thanks. But there's also a couple of things that I want you to know not to ask a veteran. 1, did you shoot somebody? And 2, did you kill somebody? We appreciate having you guys wanting to know our story and wanting to know what it was. But if you ask a veteran, if you thank a veteran, simply ask them if they want to share a story. They probably won't share a story about battle or death. They'll probably share a story like my dad always did. His favorite was to tell us about the monkey he trained in Vietnam. He took him up to the top of the helicopter hangar and taught him how to parachute down. It might not be the things that you're really super cool, interested to hear about, but they're stories from them. So, while I've given you 6 life lessons the Army taught me, sharing is not an easy experience for us. So as you leave here today, just ask a veteran, thank them, and ask them if they're willing to share their story.
Does anybody have any questions? Charlie? I thought I would put her on the spot since she's a teacher and she's done does that to the rest of us.
Used to it.
Now, to conclude our program, Ben Cameron, Andres Bencomo, Sylvester Jones is going to play taps, and then you're all excused. Could we all rise, please?
Thank you.